One of the main problems that I have in particular is that the show strayed too far from the original characters. They didn't really do their homework to write these characters, which it's sort of like the least you could do was, I mean, if you're going to try to monetize from the popularity of the original show, then you probably should stick to writing the characters as they were, right? Which is what made the original show so compelling or interesting. Yeah, so that is a problem, and I understand that people who are new fans or newer fans, that's a hard one to digest, mostly because they watched genQ first. They met the characters this way first, this way that is not them. So for them, it feels normal to them and they can accept it. But for people like me and others who have been fans for so long, it's sort of like, we know these characters. None of the stuff they did makes sense with who we know them to be. And that's just one issue. The second issue is that Ben and Tina had a long journey. It was a long journey to come home. And we earned their happy ending. We really did. We if we supported the show through the whole thing, and I think at this point the narrative that genQ wants to portray with Ben and Tina is just harmful. It doesn't help anyone, and it's not a trajectory that their relationship would really fit at this point. You have this couple who, yes, went through so much and who really are often criticized because people call them toxic. And then you bring them back for this show, a decade later, and you destroy their growth and all of their character development, which was what made them healthy. And so you put them back in this place where, first of all, developmentally, that is not where they would be today. The whole thing with Tina, she's a late bloomer. I mean, how old is Tina? Like, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make any sense. And, I can sit here and just rant about this the whole time, which I could do this for an hour. Like, I could go on all day. But that's not the point of this rant. The point of this rant is just really to clarify where people stand. And it's really easy to just make it a black and white issue. For me, it's extremely important to see Ben and Tina get that end game. And we can get into the whole genQ baloney because genQ isn't canon to me. What the fans do with the images after a show is finished is what matters. As someone who likes to do a lot of creative work, the images are important. And so I've considered already doing genQ stuff out of context because the images are just what's powerful. People who don't know these characters can watch these scenes out of context, and alone out of context they would be so empowering for like younger people. And so that's the interest for me. And really, this is without getting into all the drama that happened in the fandom before genQ aired and the way the fans were treated, OG fans, the way the OG fans were treated. I think it's really, at the very least, wrong. And I can think of stronger words to use for that, but I'll just stick to that one. Particularly me, I want the show to succeed. I would like them to fix what they did, but my brain is having a really hard time seeing how they'll fix season 1 of genQ. There's no way for me to fix the whole Carrie storyline. There's just no way for me to fix it, because to me that just taints their storyline even more. If people already thought of them like they're toxic, and I'm talking about friends and people outside of the fandom who I've tried to get into the L word, but their argument constantly is that there's just too much cheating and it's just toxic and it's just not positive representation, and they can't watch that, which it's sad, because I always tell them, like, if you give Ben and Tina a chance, you'll see like it's not all toxic. There's a reason why their journey, like you need to watch it. And that's what's sad, because this is a show like the L Word is so rare, yet it has alienated so many people because of how much cheating there was in the original show. And so, as a Tibette fan, it's also upsetting. They've been so influential in my life, and it's just kind of like, And then you have this scary storyline, like 10 years later, and Tina is lost again for some weird random reason, and Bette is having an affair with some random married woman, which I don't think that would ever happen, because Bette has too much self-respect to do something like that. So anyway, point is here that this whole thing with Carrie is just tainting their storyline even more. I can see other things happening. I understand, it is realistic that people who have been together that long could end up divorcing, but I don't think the same issues would come in play, because at this point, if it was the same issues that came around again, then this just wouldn't be healthy. This is just not a healthy relationship, and that's not what we saw with Ben and Tina. They grew and they understood what they did wrong, and they learned, and they wanted to do better. And Bette was doing things to change her ways. And did they forget that Bette literally decided to move to New York for Tina's career? I don't know what they're thinking. Anyway, point is, recycling the same storylines is sort of saying they didn't learn anything. They're still in the same place, and how is this healthy? The other point is, why do you have so many other couples to mess with? Why Tibette? You could do any other couple. That storyline that they're doing with Ben and Tina, they could have done it with a younger couple. Why are they doing it with Ben and Tina? The show was originally supposed to be, it is about the genQ characters. I forget all the time that this is about genQ characters, right? That it's not really supposed to be about Ben and Tina, which just kind of shows you where we are. But so yeah, the show was not supposed to be about Ben and Tina or Alice or Shane. It was supposed to be about these new characters, this new generation queer characters, right? And nobody remembers them. I wonder why. And so originally it was supposed to be all about them, and Bette, Alice, and Shane were just supposed to appear just randomly. And I guess at some point they wrote them in a little bit more, and then a little bit more. And my sense with the stuff that I've seen for season 2 of genQ is that they wrote them in even more. And now I don't know how that's going to look like, but I think they're going to try to go half and half, because at this point, nobody likes the new characters, and people get upset when people say that. And that's just the reality. You don't see a fandom for I don't even know their names, for all those genQ characters. There's no fandom. Nobody's making fan vids. Nobody's doing anything. Maybe 3 people, and then it doesn't go beyond that. And when it comes to Ben and Tina and the OG characters, you see new accounts popping up every day, which I ran into this super hilarious one the other day. Oh my God. It's just hilarious. Watching this new fandom engage in the same stuff that the old fandom engage in, it's just kind of hilarious. They're doing the same thing, but in a different way with more technology. So it's really cool to see, on my end. Anyway, yeah, I guess I just wanted to clarify the fact that a lot of fans are very upset because of the storyline with Ben and Tina, but at the same time, they're eager to see genQ season 2 because they're waiting for them to fix it. They have hope that genQ is going to get it right in season 2, and bless them. Really, they have faith for themselves and about 5 other people, including myself. So you can have both. You can be unhappy about genQ as we should be, because we should be asking for better representation. This is 2021. You could be asking for better representation and you could still support a show and you could still criticize a show. This is what's so wrong about this mentality. You have to support 100% loyal, never question anything, because otherwise you're not a good fan. For me, Valentina go beyond a TV show. For me, this is about representation, and this is about, like, if they get it wrong, then you gotta call it and you gotta say, you guys got it wrong. And that's how it should be, and that's what's healthy. It's not healthy to say, well, this is the only show we have to support it. It's like, no, because this is the only show we have, we should ask them to do better. They need to do better. We deserve better. We should be asking for better. And all this division in the fandom, like, I think people just get really caught up in this black and white thinking and not really listening to each other and like really understanding where people come from. I don't have any problem with anyone who watches genQ and supports genQ. I was just having a conversation with someone that I actually do call a friend. I think it was yesterday, the day before, and we were going back and forth about genQ, and I was telling her like why I just don't support genQ, and she was telling me why she supports genQ, and I'm like, you know what? You support that show for the both of us, because I can't get myself to. And that's okay. We don't have to agree. We do agree on one thing, which is the fact that we want Tibette to be together. And that is the driving force for me and for many others. And if that is the case, then, we should all be getting along instead of being so broken up. Literally, right now there's like 3 different groups. I hate groups. I wrote a whole thing about group mentality, a Twitter rant that I was going to post the other day, because it's really scary how much it's so similar to like these classic studies in psychology. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is insane. How is this happening like in this little fandom? Because we gotta be honest too. The fandom is tiny, and it's growing. I have ideas on how the fandom can be grown big time. I'm not working for free for Showtime or for these genQ people, so I'm not giving out advice for free. For me, genQ isn't canon right now. It doesn't mean that I'm closing my door completely to the show, but I also think that we need to have standards. We can't just take crumbs, really. That's my fight, and it doesn't have to be your fight. I think what's healthy is sort of respecting that that's my fight and that's not your fight, and that's okay, because at the end of the day, I think we all want the same thing, positive representation. And maybe you're more interested in Valentina and positive representation for Valentina. You want to see that wedding, you want to see them together. That is positive representation. And maybe I'm interested in bigger, like, the ideas of positive representation, and that's okay. We don't have to agree to like each other and to be friends with each other and to just care for each other. So anyway, I just wanted to say something, because I think this division and these misunderstandings are just not conductive to anything productive. And the fandom could be doing much better if everyone was more understanding and welcoming of other people's ideas and experiences, which is another thing. It's a completely different experience, the people who watched the original show in 2004 to the people who watched it just a couple of years ago or a few years ago. It is a completely different experience, but it doesn't make any one of the experiences more valid. Both are valid. The only problem is that we are looking at this TV show from completely different lenses, but we have to be understanding of that. We have to have sympathy for each other. I understand that the people who watch genQ first is going to stick to genQ. And in my case, I watched the original show. I grew up with that show. That show influenced my life so much. It's not even funny. And to see what they did to the characters that I love, It's so painful. I can't even begin to put words to it. And so, if we just have a little bit of understanding of where we're each coming from, there has to be understanding why people are so passionate. Because I think at the end of the day, we're all very passionate about whichever show we watched first. And that's okay. Some people are interested in building or being influencers in the fandom. I don't want to say that that's a bad thing, because I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I just think you got to be careful with how you do it. If that's what you're interested in doing, if you're interested in influencing the fandom, then you got to be, you're in a position that comes, if that's what you want to do, then you have to be a very responsible person with what you do, with the influence that you're seeking to have. And so, I personally don't have any stakes here. Like, I don't care to be to influence anyone in the fandom. I have bigger fish to fry. I'm just a fan who loves Valentina and who is just not gonna go down without a fight. But that's it. Some people enjoy my dumb rants on Twitter. Some people enjoy my videos, which are therapy for me. Which is cool, and that's cool, and that for me, that's it. I'm not looking for anything else. But for the people who are looking for more than that, then I guess just you got to be careful. You got to be careful with what you do, with the influence that you're having over younger viewers who are not as who are gullible. I think we all need to feel like we belong somewhere, and a lot of people in the fandom are looking for community, and that really puts people in vulnerable positions. It's a little bit similar to like kids who get lost to drugs and gangs, because all they're looking for is a family, they're looking for a community, and then they end up in gangs. And so the same thing, it's the same thing with fans, the way that I've seen in the Tibette fandom, where they really are looking for a community. And I see it a lot. Like, people really want to belong in groups and want to feel like part of something. And, that's a human need. And so it's completely understandable. But for that same reason, people who are interested in influencing people in the fandom need to be really careful how they're doing this. It can turn into a really negative thing if the person who's influencing is not thinking about this thing being beyond themselves. Yes, they're the ones who are creating the community, but they're also responsible for the well-being of that community they're creating. That is supportive, that it's not toxic. That is just my view on things, and I just really wanted to take the time to tell the other side of the story. And so, yeah, that's it for me.